Welcome back to the Larson Health Podcast. I'm Kim Larson, and today we're going to be diving deep into one of the smallest molecules with some of the biggest jobs in our bodies. It's called nitric oxide. So now I know when I say nitric oxide, most people think of a chemistry lab or maybe even something from their high school science class. But here's the truth. Nitric oxide, or NO for short, is one of the most important signaling molecules your body makes. Without it, your heart, your brain, your hormones, your energy, even your sexual health, they all start to struggle. So, what makes nitric oxide fascinating is that it's a gas. It only lasts seconds in the body, yet in that time, it directs blood flow, tells your arteries when to relax, powers your mitochondria, calms inflammation, and even shapes how your gut and oral microbiome interact. So here's the kicker. Nitric oxide production starts to decline as we age, and for women, that decline accelerates during perimenopause and menopause. Now, menopause really is only one day, just so ladies, so you know. Once you've gone through that one day of menopause, it is now considered postmenopause. So anyway, it declines and accelerates during perimenopause and menopause when estrogen levels fall. And that's why many of the symptoms we associate with midlife, such as hot flashes, fatigue, weight gain, insulin resistance, even sexual dysfunction, are all connected to falling nitric oxide levels. Which, when I started reading this research, I was amazed at, wow, really? So there's some powerful foods that also can help you with the nitric oxide, and I'll get into that later. And then also just you could take a beetroot extract, but I'll get into some of those details later to help you with your nitric oxide. And there's test strips as well. But here's the empowering part: nitric oxide decline is not inevitable, so you can rebuild it, and this is through food, lifestyle, supplements, even simple oral hygiene shifts. You can restore your nitric oxide production and dramatically change your vascular, metabolic, and hormone health. That's what we're unpacking today. So let's start with the basics. What does nitric oxide actually do? Think of nitric oxide as your body's, I don't know, natural facilitator, right? So it tells your arteries and your blood vessels to relax, open up. Why is that important? Because flexible, open blood vessels mean lower blood pressure, smoother circulation, and a lower risk of platelets clumping together and causing clots. That alone makes nitric oxide a huge player in stroke and heart attack prevention. But it goes much further. Nitric oxide helps your red blood cells deliver oxygen and nutrients in every single organ in your body: your heart, your brain, your ovaries, your thyroid, your adrenals, your pancreas. They all depend on good blood flow. And nitric oxide is the molecule that makes that happen. So, on the cellular level, no, nitric oxide, I'm going to say no. So, just was, it's kind of weird to say, maybe I'll say NO. NO drives mitochondrial energy production. So mitochondria are your energy factories, the little power plants inside your cells per se. So when nitric oxide is present, mitochondria not only produces energy more efficiently, they actually multiply. That's called mitochondrial biogenesis. So more mitochondria means better fat burning, more endurance, and less fatigue. I think I'm going to repeat that. So more mitochondria means better fat burning, more endurance, and less fatigue, right? And nitric oxide is helping to fuel the mitochondria. So nitric oxide also has an anti-inflammatory effect. It calms oxidative stress, it helps balance immune function, and even regulates nerve signals. So in the nervous system, nitric oxide transmits messages, shapes vagal tone, and relaxes smooth muscle, which matters for things like hot flashes, thermoregulation, and sexual function. So when you hear people talk about nitric oxide, don't don't think like a niche molecule. Think of it as WD-40 for your entire vascular system, right? Haven't you used WD-40 for that squeaky door or whatever you need lubricated? So this is kind of the lubrication for your body. So the entire vascular system, keeping things flexible in your vascular system, keeping it smooth and responsive. So, your heart is always pumping blood, right? It needs to stay smooth. It doesn't want to start to harden. You don't want it to start to harden. So make sure that you're getting your nitric oxide up. There's some test strips out there. You can just search on, search at Walgreens or whatever your local pharmacy is, or go to Amazon. A lot of people go to Amazon or wherever you shop. Walmart has it. Your health food stores will have it. And it's just a little test strip. You just put a little saliva on it. That's all you do. You don't actually touch it to your tongue. You take some saliva with clean hands and put it on there, and you'll see the shade of color. And there's a test strip sample on the packaging, and it'll show you what color it should be. So I'm working on mine. I'm taking a beetroot extract every single day. My nitric oxide is not optimal, but I'm working on getting it to a better place. So our bodies actually have two main ways of making nitric oxide. The first is the endogenous pathway, what's called the NOS pathway. This happens when an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthesis, or ENOS or enos, converts the amino acid L-arginine into nitric oxide. This process requires oxygen and cofactors, and when it's running smoothly, your blood vessels stay elastic. The second pathway is the enterosalivary nitrate pathway. This is the one powered by food. When you eat nitrate-rich plants like beets, arugula, spinach, celery, or lettuce, nitrate gets absorbed into your bloodstream and then concentrated in your saliva. That's why they do the saliva test. Oral bacteria, the good kind, convert nitrate into nitrite. When you swallow, nitrate is converted into nitric oxide in your stomach and in low oxygen tissues. This pathway is incredibly important because as we age, this first pathway, the enos pathway, becomes sluggish. Oxidative stress, inflammation, and hormonal changes make it harder to produce nitric oxide from arginine. Some people say arginine. But the food-based nitrate pathway bypasses that decline. So in fact, in a 2021 review, highlighted just how effective dietary nitrate can be in sustaining nitric oxide production, especially when your natural enzyme system is under stress. So food isn't just fuel here, it's literally medicine for your arteries. This is where things get personal and especially important for women. As we age, endothelial nitric oxide production naturally drops. And this is also true for men. Blood vessels stiffen, blood pressure creeps up, and vascular aging accelerates. Now, estrogen normally stimulates nitric oxide production. Estrogen binds to its receptors, ER alpha and ER beta, and triggers the P1 PI3K AKT pathway. That's a lot to take in, which increases the enos activity. Translation: estrogen tells your body to make nitric oxide and keep vessels elastic. So, what happens in perimenopause and menopause or postmenopause when estrogen falls? Enos activity drops and nitric oxide availability falls as well. Oxidative stress rises, and to make matters worse, enos can actually uncouple instead of producing nitric oxide. It produces perioxide, which damages the endothelium. The result: stiffer arteries, hot flashes, sexual dysfunction, low energy, and higher risk for cardiometabolic disease. This is one of the reasons why heart disease risk in women rises sharply after menopause and also rises for men sharply after the age of 50. It just decreases. And so you really need to make sure that you're taking in nitric oxide rich foods or nitrate rich foods to make sure that you're getting the nitric oxide that you need. And then it also explains so many midlife symptoms that often get brushed off as normal when we age. They're not inevitable. They're linked to nitric oxide decline. So now let's talk about what the research actually says, because this isn't just theory. In one study, a single dose of beetroot juice, about 600 milligrams of nitrate, protected the endothelium in early postmenopause women against ischemia reperfusion injury. Their low mediated dilation, a gold standard test for vessel flexibility, improved measurably. Another trial showed that just 7 days of approximately 400 milligrams of nitrate, a daily daily improved, clinically improved flow mediated dilation by 2.2% compared to placebo. So that might sound small, but in vascular biology, that's a big deal. A 12-week study in women ages 60 to 85 found that daily beet extract reduced arterial stiffness and increased serum nitrate and nitrate levels significantly. And in a 90-day randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study, which is the gold standard for studies, women taking an inorganic nitrate complex lowered their systolic blood pressure by 12 points and improved endothelial function by 22%. Bottom line, whether it's acute, short term, or long term, nitrate intake improves endothelial function in women. It literally, and also in men, it literally counteracts vascular aging. So, men and women, listen up. You need to make sure that your nitric oxide levels are in healthy range. And if not, start getting your vegetables or start getting a beetroot extract or something to help with your nitric oxide if you don't want your arteries to harden. So, here's something most people don't realize: endocrine glands are highly vascular, they depend on blood flow to function. And nitric oxide supports the hypothalamus and pituitary, which regulate hormones like LH, FSH, oxytocin, and growth hormone. The ovaries, where NO is crucial for ovulation, follicle development, and hormone production. The uterus, where NO supports implantation and cycle regulation, right? And if you're older, you don't have cycles anymore. You don't have any of that going on, so you're getting some major decline. The adrenals, which release stress hormones and catecholamines. The thyroid, which needs healthy microcirculation for hormone output. The pancreas, where NO, nitric oxide, helps regulate insulin and glycogen. When nitric oxide runs low, all these systems suffer. That's why menopause symptoms or postmenopause symptoms like hot flashes, mood swings, sleep disturbances, metabolic changes can worsen. By restoring nitric oxide, you're not just helping your arteries, you're helping your hormones feel more balanced. So, nitric oxide also regulates your mitochondria, which we talked about earlier. It makes them work more efficiently and stimulates them to multiply. That means more energy, more endurance, and better fat burning. This matters for midlife women because nitric oxide decline is part of why our metabolism slows and fat starts to accumulate around the midsection. So, supporting nitric oxide helps restore metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between burning carbs and burning fat. And it even supports brown fat. And brown fat is the best, it's like baby fat. And so, that is definitely an energy burner for you guys when your body has brown fat and the metabolically active fat that burns energy to create heat. So think of nitric oxide as fuel for your cellular engines. Let's talk about sexual health. A placebo-controlled pilot study found that just 30 days of nitrate supplementation improve sexual desire and orgasm scores in women. Wearable devices also showed improvements in cardiovascular autonomic regulation and sleep quality. Why? Because better circulation means better thermoregulation, better recovery, and yes, better sexual response. So when women say, I just don't feel like myself anymore midlife, nitric oxide could be a missing piece of the puzzle. So, how do you know if your nitric oxide is low? Here's some signs: cold hands and feet, brain fog, fatigue, sexual dysfunction, poor wound healing, hot flashes, central weight gain in your midsection, rising blood pressure, headaches, sleep disruption. The good news is you can test at home. Saliva nitric oxide strips give instant feedback with a simple color change. Test in the morning before you drink anything, before you brush your teeth, before you do anything, consume anything. Test in the morning with your morning breath. Test it then, and then test again after a nitrate-rich meal and track your progress. It's a great way to personalize your approach instead of guessing. So now let's get into practical. How do you rebuild nitric oxide? So food is first. The best nitrate-rich vegetables are arugula, spinach, beets, celery, and lettuce. So aim for 400 to 600 milligrams of nitrate per day, like the clinical trials used, showing the best results. So that could look like an arugula salad with roasted beets at lunch, a green smoothie with spinach, or beet hummus with dinner. Menopause upgrade, let's talk about add polyphenol rich foods like berries, cocoa, and pomegranate to buffer oxidative stress. And pair your nitrate rich meals with resistance training and aerobic exercise. Why? Because exercise itself upregulates enos and boosts nitric oxide production. So some lifestyle things you can do is avoid daily antiseptic mouthwash unless your dentist prescribes it. But dentists don't even know about the health behind your oral your oral health in that sense, because they don't know nutrition. Doctors don't know nutrition because they're not taught nutrition. Unless you see a functional doctor, a functional health doctor, or a functional nutritionist, a nutrition person like myself, they're not going to really understand the details. So it's really good to have somebody like myself who can work with your doctor and talk to them about the nutritional needs that you have when you're struggling with any one of these problems. So avoid daily antiseptic mouthwash unless your dentist prescribes it. But even then, make sure you're using a water pick if you can, or swish around water in your mouth. Then you floss, then you brush your teeth and scrape your tongue. Those mouthwashes wipe out the oral bacteria that convert nitrate into nitrite. So that's why you don't want to do it. Studies show antiseptic rinses can raise blood pressure by blocking nitric oxide production. So some supplements that you can do is a standardized beetroot juice shot with guaranteed nitrate content, like a Beat It Sport Nitrate 400, red spinach extracts, L-citrulline, 1.5 to 3 grams a day daily, or L-arginine, 3 to 6 grams daily. Citrulline often works better for raising plasma arginine and nitric oxide. Always choose products that state the actual nitrate content. Many beet powders don't, which makes them unreliable. And remember, test strips can help you tailor your dose. So to wrap this up, nitric oxide may be a tiny gas, but it has massive effects on your health. It keeps your arteries flexible, your hormones balanced, your mitochondria humming, your metabolism steady, and your sexual health vibrant. Yes, nitric oxide declines with age, especially after menopause. But the exciting news is we can rebuild it through diet, lifestyle, and smart supplementation. You can restore nitric oxide and dramatically change how you feel and how you age. So my challenge for you this week is simple. Add one nitrate-rich meal a day. Maybe it's a spinach smoothie, a beet salad with a little bit of goat cheese on it or some feta cheese, or just piling arugula on your plate. Notice how you feel. And if you want to take it further, grab some nitric oxide test strips and start tracking your progress. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, especially someone going through midlife changes. Let's spread the word about nitric oxide and empower men and women with the tools to thrive, not just survive through aging. Thanks for listening to the Larson Health Podcast, and I'll see you next time.